Okay, so today we're going to read about Saint Valentine in our saint book. Did you know that Valentine's Day is actually Saint Valentine's special feast day? Cool. So there's lots of stories about Saint Valentine, but this one is kind of cool. There's a miracle that happens. All right. So it says, in the ancient city of Rome, there lived a humble and gentle man. His clothes were not as fine as the nobleman's, and his leather sandals were worn thin. He did not live in a fancy house made of smooth marble, but in a small dwelling in a crowded part of the city. The man's friends and neighbors called him Valentine. That's his name. Valentine was a physician, which is a doctor, and practiced his trade in the tiny second room of his home. So a long time ago, when Valentine was alive, doctors could be doctors at their houses, and people would come there instead of a doctor's office. In that room stood a cabinet full of bowls and jars that held herbs and powders. There were glass and ceramic pots filled with animal fat and beeswax and jugs of wine, milk, and honey that Valentine mixed with his medicines so they would not taste icky. That was nice of him, wasn't it? We don't like icky medicine. When the sick or injured came to see Valentine, he would show them into the tiny room and examine them carefully. He cleaned their wounds with wine and vinegar and bandaged them with fresh cloth. Or he might grind up herbs and roots in a small bowl to ease a visitor's pain. When it came time for the patient to pay, Valentine would only accept what they could offer, maybe a jug of wine, some baked bread, or a new pair of sandals. If the patient that he was seeing had nothing to pay, Valentine would say, "Oh, it was just a few things and prayers that have healed you, my friend," and he would be sent on his way. Prayer was an important part of Valentine's life too. But where most people in the city prayed to the many Roman gods, Valentine and a small group of others prayed to a single God, right? They follow God. The Romans did not like these people called the Christians who worshiped only one God. So the Romans are living in Rome and they pray to many gods, right? And Valentine is a Catholic, and so he only prays to one God. Whenever anything bad happened in the city, the Romans always blamed the Christians, even if they had nothing to do with it. Sometimes the Christians were even put into prison or killed. So in Rome, when things went bad, they blamed the Christians who are praying to only one God. It's the Christians' fault it happened. It's the Christians' fault there's a fire. It's the Christians' fault. Let's put them in jail, even though they didn't even do anything. Knowing the danger of his beliefs, knowing that it's dangerous to only believe in one God, Valentine, who was a priest of the Christians, prayed for each of his patients, but he only prayed at night when no one could see him. One afternoon, a man with a small child came to Valentine's door. The man worked as a jailer at the emperor's prison and had heard about the priest's healing. So this guy, he's coming to see Valentine with his little girl, and he works at the jail. He's called a jailer. He keeps the prisoners in their cells. Valentine took the girl's hand and led her father into the examining room. The child seemed well, but when Valentine held up the oil lamp to take a closer look, he realized why the father had come. "She has been blind since birth," said the jailer. "Can you give her sight?" So the little girl is blind. She cannot see. And the jailer is hoping that Valentine can do something to her to make her be able to see again. I wonder if he'll be able to do it. Although he knew that blindness was one of the most difficult things to cure, Valentine vowed to do his best. From the cabinet, he took down a precious copper box filled with a wet, waxy paste and dabbed a little bit of it into the corner of the little girl's eyes. The jailer thanked Valentine and tried to pay, but the priest refused. "I cannot accept payment when I don't know if your child will get her sight back. Bring her again next week and I will put more ointment on." Ointment's the stuff you put on the corners of her eyes. The jailer and the daughter thanked the priest and they were gone. That night, like every night, Valentine prayed for his patients, but he prayed longest for the jailer and his daughter. The father and daughter returned the following week and again the week after, and each time Valentine put the small waxy paste by the child's eyes, and the child still couldn't see. So nothing's working yet. After so many visits, the three soon became friends. Sometimes while the jailer stood guard at the prison, Valentine would take the child along with him while he gathered the things for his medicines. Together they walked outside the city gates and down the old stone road until they reached the countryside. In spring, the fields were covered with bright golden crocuses, some flowers, the first flowers to bloom in Rome after the winter. While Valentine gathered white mandrake root for curing headaches, the child would gather bouquets of yellow and orange crocuses to give her father when the priest brought her home. So while her daddy's at work, Valentine takes her into the field and they collect flowers and roots and things together for his medicines. Weeks went by until one day, Valentine, who was expecting the knock of the jailer and his daughter at the door, heard instead the heavy pounding of the Roman soldiers. Remember, the Roman soldiers don't like people that pray to one God. They don't like the Christians. The soldiers burst in and began to destroy everything in Valentine's home. They smashed to pieces the cabinet full of medicine. The precious copper box with the eye ointment spilled onto the floor. Before he knew what had happened, Valentine was led to the emperor's prison and put in a dark, cold cell. And remember, the only reason that he's going to the jail is because he's a Christian, is because he only prays to the one God. When the jailer heard of the priest's arrest, he hurried to the cell. There has been an uprising in the streets, and the Christians are being blamed, he told Valentine. Many have been imprisoned, and the emperor has ordered it. There's nothing I can do to help you. Remember that the guy with the daughter, the jailer, he works at the jail. Valentine nodded slowly and asked for a pen and ink and something to write on, which the jailer hurried to get. So he got him a piece of paper and a pen. When he came back, the priest quickly wrote on the scrap of papyrus and handed it back to the jailer. So he wrote him a note. "Please give this to your child," he said, and he put it in the man's hand. Later, the two soldiers came to Valentine's cell and took him away, and the jailer watched helplessly. There's nothing he could have done. When the jailer returned home that day, he was greeted by his daughter. He put the scrap of paper and he unrolled it and he handed it to his child. "What does it say, Father?" asked the little girl, and a yellow crocus fell from the small scroll into her hand. It says, "From your Valentine," her father read. Slowly, the child held up the blossom before her face. And you know what happened? So he put the little flower in the note. She held the flower up to her face, and for the first time, she watched its color dazzle like the rays of the afternoon sun. Remember, before she was blind, she couldn't see. And then he gave her the little note. He signed it "From your Valentine." And he had the flower in there, and that made her see. It was a miracle. Isn't that cool? And then Valentine just had to stay in jail. It's kind of a sad story. People weren't nice to the Christians. All right, so let's find our page. Last time we did, remember we did the brother and sister, Saint Scholastica and Saint Benedict, and there's Saint Valentine. So today I'm gonna let you color him however you'd like. You can copy me or you can do your own. Let's see. We're also gonna draw today next to him some hearts, because on Valentine's Day, it's all about love. And there's other stories about Valentine too, but we just read the one where he helped the girl see. And we're gonna draw one of those yellow flowers too, to remind us of that story. He's got some hair. He's got his beard. What color should he wear underneath? Maybe red. Remember, if I'm going too fast, you can always pause it, right? Because I do color a little bit faster. Give him some Maybe he's got something blue on underneath here. And then his shoes. I'll give him green shoes today. And then, let's see, we're gonna write Trace's letters. Saint, remember ST is the short way to write the word saint, and then Valentine. Let's see. Oh, we've got to draw that flower. So over here, I'm gonna draw my long stem and some leaves. And remember, they said it was a yellow flower, and it had like a little orange in the middle. So I'm gonna draw that. I'm gonna leave a little circle in the middle. And I'm gonna make it orange in there. There it is. I'm gonna make some hearts because Valentine's Day is also about love. Make sure you draw your things on the sides too, please. If you need help drawing a heart, I bet an adult there can show you how to draw one. It's kind of tricky. And there we have it. Press pause if you need to finish.